For our next part of the train project, we're going to start setting up the objects that will help move the train around the track. And to do that, we're going to be using something new called drivers. And to introduce that to you, we're going to play around with a couple shapes and kind of see how this works. So let's start by deleting the cube and the camera. I'm sorry, deleting the light and the camera. And then let's add mesh and let's add the monkey. And I'm looking at it from the front by hitting 1 on the number pad and then hitting G and X to move the monkey over here to the right. And now let's hit N and open up our property shelf. So what is a driver? A driver is when one number or value controls or drives another value. So for example, let's say that I want to move the cube up and down on the Z-axis. And when I move the cube, I want the monkey to also move exactly the same amount. So if I select the cube and I come over to the Z location value and right click at the bottom, you're going to see copy as new driver. So we're going to click that. Then we're going to select the monkey. We're going to the Z value of the monkey, right click, and near the top middle, we're going to hit paste driver, and this will turn purple. So now if I grab the cube and move it on the Z axis, you'll notice that the monkey also moves with it. So we can link one number to another number somewhere in Blender. Now we could also link something different. Let's say that we want the monkey to rotate. Oh, sorry, wrong object. Let's select the monkey. The monkey to rotate on the Y axis when the current frame increases. So for every 1 frame it increases, this will increase by the value of 1. So if we right click on the current frame, copy as new driver, make sure the monkey is selected, go to the rotation and the Y value, right click, paste as driver. And then when we hit play, the monkey's going to spin really, really fast because this number is increasing at a very high rate, and that's causing the rotation to increase at a very high rate. So let's pause that. And let's say instead of spinning super fast, we want the monkey to spin a little bit slower. So we need to make some kind of change to this number. If we right click on this purple rotation value, we can open the driver's editor and we will get this window. And this is showing us, this section is telling us that the current frame is the number that we're pulling in to control the Y rotation of the monkey's head. But we want it to spin slower, maybe like 10% slower. So we have different types of drivers. Right now it's an averaged value. Basically it means it just pulls the number in exactly as it is. If we click this, we can go down to scripted expression. This allows us to do some math. So the expression is the current frame and there's nothing else going on. So if we take the current frame and we click here and hit the asterisk for multiply and type in 0.1, that will give us 10% of this number. So now if we hit play, instead of going super fast, it's going 10% of whatever the current frame is, making the monkey move much slower. Okay, so let's say that instead of having it a steady pace, we want to have another object control that speed. So let's take a second and make sure we have the monkey selected, and let's remove the driver from the Z location so the monkey doesn't go up and down. So by right clicking, we can go to delete driver. Now, I want to make it where as the cube goes up, the monkey starts spinning faster and faster. So I'm going to the cube and I still need the Z information, but I already have a driver, so I can't paste that driver on top of it. It will just erase the old one. So we need to get the Z value some other way. To do that, we're going to right click. Let's first make sure you have the cube selected. We're looking at the Z value and we're going to right click, and instead of copy the driver, we're going to copy the data path. So that's going to copy the information Blender needs to go into the coding and find this number. So let's click on the monkey. And we still have our driver's editor window up. We're looking at the Y value. So we're going to keep all of this the same. And in this box, we have the current frame information. So it's saying the current frame, it's part of our scene. It's going to this path looking for the data. And this is the current value right now. But we need to pull in the Z location, excuse me, of the cube. So we're going to add a new input variable. And we have this new section below that's turned red. And I'm just going to call this cube, and that's going to be the name that we're going to use to pull some information up here. We need to tell it which object. So if we click on this, we want the cube, and the path is what we just copied. So if we just right click doesn't do it. If you hit Control V, V as in vary, it's going to paste the location Z data of the cube, and it's called cube. So I have the frame times 0.1 so it doesn't spin too fast. And now I'm also going to multiply it by cube, or this information. Now, it is very, very important that you spell it exactly the same. Upper and lowercase does matter, because if you misspell it, or if you have a lowercase here and an uppercase there, it's not going to work. So it's very important that this stays the same, and this information was already there, so we shouldn't have to worry about it. So we can move this down, and this is at 0. So if I hit play, nothing is going to happen, because any number times 0 is going to stay 0. But if I grab this on the Z axis and start to move it up, the monkey is going to start spinning, and it's a little bit jerky because I'm still moving it. So if I stop there, it spins kind of slow. If I move it up higher, it spins faster. And if I move it up even higher, it spins even faster. So we can take and stop our animation, and let's move this back to 0. So let's just animate the cube. So the cube on frame 1 is at 0. So if I hover over this and hit I, it's going to insert a keyframe. Now if I go to frame 250, and let's put this cube at, let's do something a little bit closer. Let's do 10. So on frame 250, I'm going to insert a keyframe so that the cube is at 10 on the Z axis. So if I go back to the beginning, I hit play. As this goes up, the monkey slowly increases its speed, getting faster and faster. So just to kind of review, drivers are when we take one number, one value, and use it to control something else. It can be very simple, where it's exactly the same, or we can tie math into it and change it to less or more by multiplying by a smaller percentage or higher percentage. You can even use other objects to multiply by that, and you can have as many different objects affecting it as you want. Couple things. Almost every number in Blender where you have a number can be driven by another number. Can be a driver to drive something. So for example, I can use the current frame. Sorry, I had to pause for a second. So let me think. Yeah, we were talking about some numbers can be a driver and some cannot be driven by the number. So for example, the current frame can be used to drive another number, but I could not take the Z location of the cube and drive the current frame, because if you right click, you're going to see you have the option to copy as a new driver, but you have no option to paste. So there are some numbers that you can't control with the driver, but they can be used to control something else. So we'll stop there with this video, and you don't have to save this file. This was just to kind of introduce drivers to you. And in the next video, we're going to start setting up the parts that will help control your train and move it along the track.